Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Saressa Hartwell, and I am the marketing coordinator with the State Water Resources Control Board. And today I'll be leading our funding fair. Again, I want to welcome all of you for attending today. We really appreciate the fact that you're very interested in our funding fair. And if you're here seeking funding for infrastructure projects, you're at the right place. To give you an overview of the day, we're going to have some presentations, and then we're going to have a small break. And then we'd like to have your feedback during, about your experience today through our evaluation. And we'll put a link in the chat for you to access that. And then we'll open up the virtual booth. At the same time, we'd like for you to take the evaluations when we open up the virtual booth, so that gives the opportunity for the agencies to go into their booths and be able to set up for you to come in and talk to them. This is our agenda today. The agenda is posted in the chat, so if you can have access to it today, but this is how it's formatted. We're starting with me. I'm Saressa again with the State Water Board, and then we're going to have the state funding resources presentation overview of the California Grants Portal. And then we're going to have our state, local agencies presentation. We'll have a very small break. And then we have another opportunity to hear about the federal funding resources at the www.grants.gov. And then we'll start with the federal agencies presentations. And then after that, we'll have the evaluations, and then we'll open up the virtual booth. That is where you'll have the opportunity to talk to the agencies about your community's water needs or water quality needs, or about any questions you may have about what you heard today, or any projects you have in your head you're thinking about. This is the opportunity for you to go talk to them about that. Speaking of the virtual booths, when they're open, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see these 4 buttons. You can push that button, and then all you have to do is join any of the breakout rooms. Each agency has their own. You can just go in and out as you please, ask questions, stay as long as you like, because we're here for you. Next, I'd like to take a poll to get a feel of who visitors, who is here today attending. So let me stop sharing my screen. Stop sharing, and let me open up the poll. Now, the poll questions that have other in it, which we would really appreciate it if you would type in what that other is, so that we will understand where you got your information. Is the poll there? Oh, there it is. Okay. You know, I always get nervous at this part because I don't see any questions coming through. And then they start popping through like it's popcorn, watching it in the microwave. Questions just start going through. It's good to see. We have tribe represented today. We're so happy to see you here. We appreciate you attending. There's all type of information for you to type of funding for you. And we have some representatives from the underserved community. That is also wonderful news, because we always want to be able to help those. I will let the poll go on a few more minutes. Let those who are still entering in come in. For those who are joining us right now, we're taking an audience poll to find out who's here right now. It's up. I'll give you a few moments to finish taking it. Okay, it looks like everyone has stopped now, so I will end the poll. And thank you to those who took the poll. We really appreciate it. In fact, through your answers, we really have restructured the way we do our funding fairs, so feedback is always great to have. Today's access to the agenda is in the chat right now. You can download the agenda there. At our handbook, the 2024 handbook, and presentations are available at CFCC. At our website at www.cfcc.ca.gov. And let me show you what that looks like. This is our website. They'll bring you to here. Like I said, it's www.cfcc.ca.gov. Here is where you can find the handbook. Click on here, and today's handbook will pop up. Let me go to the top of the screen. The 2024 handbook. It has our mission statements in here, the content of all the agencies who are speaking today. And something that we did new this year is we have the funding programs that are open right now today that you can apply for. Their purpose, the eligible applicants, any kind of notes, deadlines, and the contact information. So these are open today. And like DWR, here's what they have open today, so you can have this information directly and go and find out who and what type of information is going to be there. Also, if you can't stay the whole time, we have this PDF of a common funding inquiry form. It asks basic questions about you and your organization, what type of funding that you're requesting, and then you just hit this iBank link and it goes out to them, and then they'll spread it out to the rest of us to see if we can assist in any type of information that you provided. This was our spring funding fair. It's recorded. This is where today's recording will be uploaded here under the funding fair video. This is where you can hit for the slide presentations. They'll be uploaded down here. They're thumbnails. These are also from our spring funding fair. Today's presentations will be uploaded by the end of the week so that you get the most updated information. But this is where you can find that. Also, we have over here our infrastructure funding programs. These are the agencies that have that type of funding for you, and a lot of them will be speaking today. Over here on this button, we have the additional funding programs. This is where you will find, this is the grants portal, but we're going to have someone, state library is going to give you an overview of how to use that. And then this is the federal programs. You come down here at the very bottom of this screen and it takes you to where they have their information, but also we have an overview of that also later on today. So this is our CFC website. If you wanted to come next week to the November 13th, you can come here and register here, and any upcoming information will be presented here at our website. So that's where you can find that type of information for CFCC. And so that was our, so now we're going to begin with our presenter. As I said, our first agenda can be found in the chat and you can follow along. And our first presenter, let me stop sharing my screen, is Shivani. She's with the State Library, and she's going to give you an overview of the California Grants Portal.
Thank you there. Good morning, everyone, and hope your Thursday morning is going well. My name is Shivani Bosbrala. I am the lead over California Grants Portal, which is grants.ca.gov. This website was created out of a legislation back in 2019 to centralize all grant opportunities that the state agencies provide. So if there are state administered funding opportunities, then they are in the grants portal, so grants.ca.gov. One thing to note, they are only competitive, first come, first serve loans and federal assistance funds that are in this portal. Okay, so no non-competitive grant opportunities or any other criteria that falls beyond the competitive first come, first serve and loans and federal assistance funds. All state agencies are required to put their grant opportunities into the portal. At the same time, they go live on their site. So RFA goes live or NOFA goes live on their site, they're required to put that information into the portal. The idea is that all of you and your community members can come into the grants portal and find opportunities all at once. So in other words, if you go to our homepage, there are different ways to get into the portal, right? You can search by categories, and the categories are high level for a reason, because we want to make sure that if you selected environment and water, you are getting all environment and water, and you may not, if we narrow it down, you may miss some of the opportunities that might be tagged otherwise, right? So we want to make sure you get everything that's environment and water related. And that's why the categories are high level, okay? With that said, if you go to find grants page, which is where our advanced search is, you will be able to search for any grant opportunity via keyword search. So keyword search is important. This is important to know when you're searching on this portal. Everything that is in the text will show up as a result. So in other words, if I put in a keyword climate, right? It's going to pop up all the results that has climate in it. Okay. So this is to allow, again, to allow you all to see every opportunity that's related to climate. The idea is to give you a broader search so that then you can go back and narrow down your, what's good for your organization to apply. Okay, so I'm going to do a search here with climate, and I'll show you what it comes back with. One thing to note, it's going to always search for forecasted active. Those are the default settings. Forecasted grants are those that are not open for application. They are not mandated by the legislation, so the departments can put in if they like, if they have the information for it. These are just to give you a heads up, okay, to say, hey, this grant opportunity may come up in the future. So that's forecasted. Active are those that are open for application today, whether it's with a deadline or without a deadline, which could be like ongoing grant opportunity. Okay, so you hit apply here, apply filter, and then everything here, it's going to come back, and there's 34 grant opportunities that are forecasted active that are related to climate. Okay, so that's what this is. So it either has climate in the text of the title or in the description or in somewhere in the information for these funding opportunities. One thing to note, if you don't want to move away from this page yet because you want to see all the results here, you will be able to say more information, and you'll be able to see what this grant's about before you actually go in deeper. So here you can read about this grant and say, oh no, that's not for my organization, and then you move on. It also tells you who's eligible for it. So you got to make sure, your organization fall under one of these eligible applicant types so that, you can apply for it if it is something that you're interested in. Public agency includes local government, special districts, K-12, higher education, okay? Nonprofit, any kind of nonprofit, okay? So 501c3, 4, 6, 3, tribal government, obviously all tribal government, okay? Eligible geographic requirements, that will give you any limitations, any exceptions and things like that. Sometimes there are with the funding opportunities, so you want to review those as well. So let's say this grant opportunity, you looked at the brief overview and you're like, you know what, I really am interested in looking deeper into it. You can click on the title and it's going to take you to the full view of this grant. Now you can read more in description, any other requirements that are important to your organization prior to applying. Everything else here is given to estimated available funding for this grant opportunity. And guidelines is where you're going to go to apply. Okay, so grant guidelines basically takes you to the RFA or NOFA for the department to apply for this grant opportunity based on the vehicle that they've selected. Okay. If you have any questions about this grant, let's say you're stuck or you're like, the limitations doesn't make sense to me, or I have questions, you always want to contact the actual department representative that's listed on each grant opportunity. And that is mandated information by the legislation. Okay. So every department has to give us email address and a phone number. Okay. So let's say you emailed and your question and you haven't heard for like, I want to say 72 hours. Let's just give them 72 hours because business days, right? Not weekends counting. If you have not heard, then contact us and then we will try to get you in touch with the department. Okay. So, but the first line of defense is them because they can answer your questions directly rather than you going through a loop with us and us giving you the information and then you go, it's just a longer process. We don't want you to have to go through more hoops than it needs to be. So always contact the information on the department's resources down here. So how do you contact us if you need to? Okay, you go to our contact in the corner here, upper right. You can fill out a form or you can email the mailbox right here directly. Okay, cagrantsportal@library.ca.gov. We will respond back within 42 hours, business days. I'm a slim team of two, so bear with me if we don't respond right away. But we try to get to everyone within less than 42 hours most of the time, unless it's a huge traffic going through our mailbox. Okay. The other thing that you can do is subscribe for our notifications. These notifications are going to help you not have to come to the portal to find what's new every single day. Because again, the funding opportunities are added by the departments whenever they become available, right? So if let's say tomorrow it's a grant's going to open, it'll show up tomorrow on the portal. So you don't want to have to come and look for a new grant every single day on the portal, right? So my suggestion is to sign up for a daily or weekly digest into your email that basically will give you either all new grant opportunities or by the category. So or is very important. So if you selected newest grants and a category, you will get a duplicate email. All right. I get people sending me an email. Why am I getting duplicate emails? Because you signed up for a category and newest grants. So it's either or. Okay. If you don't want to get duplicates. So newest grants is going to give you everything new, forecasted and active, everything new that comes without the category tagged. But if your organization only applies for grants that are related to environment and water and energy, then just pick those categories, okay? And you'll get all new grants tagged under that category. So subscribe is that. Last feature I want to share before I hand back over is in the Find Grants again, where the advanced search is, you can save your refinement of the search. So let's say I selected category environment and water, and I am a nonprofit, okay? And I'm always going to search for grants related to climate. Okay. Now, I don't want to have to come to this portal every single time and type all that or select all that, right? You hit Save Current Refinements up here in the left under Find Grants. What it's going to do is it's going to drop a cookie in your browser, okay? So whenever you come back, it's going to give you the results under that same exact criteria that I just put in. If you clear your cache often, the cookie's gone. You have to re-save it. That's the only caveat to that, right? So just remember that. Any other information about the legislation or how this portal is built, you can find that on overview. Statistics dashboard gives you a transparency of how many grants have been added to the portal, how many grants are awarded. So we are also collecting that data now per a legislation that came out in 2022. So who's getting the money how much money, which county, all of that stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of data, you're more than welcome to go to Statistic Dashboard and look at all that data set. Okay, so we have all that transparent here. We also do a legislative annual report every year, so you can review that. That gives you all the statistics about how this portal has been working and so forth. Using this site, you have a FAQs here and a glossary. So a lot of resources. Again, if you have any questions, and again, select language. This is powered by Google, so just note, and it only up to our site. It does not translate beyond our site. So if you go to the department site, it's not going to translate. Okay, so just note that. If you have any questions, always contact us on CA Grants Portal at library.ca.gov. And we are happy to help you navigate through this portal or answer any questions that you might have. With that, I will hand it back to the team, and they can progress in the next speaker.
Our next speaker is Owen Bratton. He's with the State Water Resources Control Board.
All right. Can everyone hear me and see my screen?
Yes and yes.
Perfect. Okay. Good morning. My name is Owen Bratton, and I work in the Division of Financial Assistance at the State Water Resources Control Board. The presentation today will give a brief introduction to the many grant and loan programs offered. To learn more about each of the programs, I encourage you to visit the CFCC handbook. All right, so to start off, the State Water Board has several wastewater funding programs that provide funding for planning and construction projects to restore and maintain compliance with waste discharge requests and National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits. Grants are available for projects benefiting small, disadvantaged communities, and priority is given for septic to sewer projects. Programs include the Clean Water State Revolving Fund and the Water Recycling Funding Program. The State Water Board also has numerous drinking water funding programs that I will discuss over the next few slides. In terms of long-term solutions, the State Water Board provides funding for drinking water infrastructure projects needed to achieve or maintain compliance with Safe Drinking Water Act requirements. Grants and low-interest loans are available, and priority is given to projects that address categories A through C or consolidation. In addition, we have funding for lead service line inventory and replacement. Programs offered here include Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, the Expedited Drinking Water Grant Funding Program, and the Lead Service Line Replacement Funding Program. The State Water Board funds drinking water interim solutions that address urgent drinking water needs. Eligible projects include bottled water and hauled water, well repair, well rehabilitation and replacement, vending machines, point-of-use devices, emergency interties, or treatment systems. State small water systems and domestic wells serving disadvantaged communities and low-income households are eligible. Programs include the Cleanup and Abatement Urgent Drinking Water Needs Program, the Countywide and Regional Funding Program, and the Emergency Drinking Water / Cleanup and Abatement Account. The State Water Board also provides funding that benefits daycare facilities, preschools, and K-12 schools. These programs fund point-of-use and point-of-entry treatment systems, fixture replacement and installation of drinking water fountains, and provision of interim drinking water supplies. These programs are administered by nonprofit organizations, and the programs include the Bottled Water for Schools Grant Program and the Drinking Water for Schools Grant Program. There are several State Water Board funded drinking water funding programs that are administered by counties and nonprofit organizations. These programs provide funds to individuals and households served by domestic wells or state small water systems to address water quality issues. These programs are Domestic Water Wells and State Smalls Program and the Drinking Water Assistance for Households Program. All right. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, also known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021, provided the US EPA with $60 billion over 5 years to support water infrastructure, environmental cleanups, and clean air protections. The state of California received $4.3 billion of those federal funds to supplement the state revolving funds. This supplemental funding went towards additional funding for the CWSRF and DWSRF programs, lead service line replacement, and addressing emerging contaminants. The Emerging Contaminants Funding Program provides funds towards projects that reduce people's exposure to perfluoroalkyl and polyfluoroalkyl substances and other emerging contaminants through their drinking water. Funding sources for this program include the DWSRF Emerging Contaminant Fund and the Emerging Contaminants in Small and Disadvantaged Communities Fund. All right. Technical assistance is also available to support drinking water and wastewater needs. Examples of project types that TA can assist with include funding applications, project planning and administration, engineering and environmental services, legal assistance, rate studies, income surveys, capacity building, and emergency response for drinking water only. Priority is given to small, disadvantaged communities and in accordance with drinking water and wastewater funding priorities. Requests are accepted continuously, and assistance will be granted based on capacity and program priorities. All right, next, the State Water Board has several site cleanup funding programs. There are grants for cleanup of a site contaminated by leaking petroleum underground storage tanks, USTs, where there is no financially responsible party. In addition, we have grants and loans to assist small business UST owners and operators to come into compliance with UST regulatory requirements. The programs are the Orphan Site Cleanup Fund, the SB 445 Site Cleanup Subaccount Program, and the Removal, Replacement, or Upgrading Underground Storage Tanks Program, also referred to as RUST. The Non-Point Source NPS program funds projects to reduce and mitigate the effects of non-point source pollutants such as sediment, pesticides, and nutrients to waters of the state within priority watersheds. Interested parties should contact their local regional water board for assistance. All right, at this time, I'd like to point out available resources. So all the programs covered in today's presentation are included in the CFCC handbook. The Division of Financial Assistance webpage contains guidance, documents, contact information, and frequently asked questions. To stay informed, we encourage you to sign up for one or more of the State Water Board's email subscription lists. Please look for the Division of Financial Assistance in particular. Many of the funding programs offered by the State Water Board, including the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund and Clean Water State Revolving Fund, use the Financial Assistance Application Submittal tool, FAST. FAST is a web-based interface that's accessible 24 hours a day. The FAST Help Desk is available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Feel free to call or email your questions. All right, if you have any questions about the funding programs outlined today, please join us at the virtual breakout session, or you can reach out to the DFA General Inquiries line at 916-327-9978 after the funding fair. On behalf of the State Water Board's Division of Financial Assistance, I want to thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Owen. Really appreciate that. Our next speaker is from the Strategic Growth Council.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. My name is Atisha Singh. I'm Connecting Communities Analyst with the Strategic Growth Council. My colleague, Adrienne Moretz, who's Connecting Communities Lead, is also on the Zoom, and we're both very happy to be here with you today. So first, I'll tell you a little bit about SGC, and then I'll tell you about two opportunities available through our office. SGC is a 10-member council composed of 7 state cabinet agencies and 3 public members that coordinates and works collaboratively across state government and with communities to achieve sustainability, equity, economic prosperity, and quality of life for all Californians. Since 2008, we invested billions in California's underserved communities through numerous grant programs and policy initiatives that prioritize capacity building and technical assistance. Okay, so the first opportunity, it's called the Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities Program. It was established in 2014 with the primary goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by financing integrated projects that include affordable housing, transportation, urban greening, energy efficiency, and community programming. This slide shows you some of the great impacts of the program: 3.8 billion invested, 17,000 affordable homes, 5 million metric tons of CO2 reduced, and over 290 miles of new and improved bikeways. So what are the program requirements? Developments should be shovel ready, ready to complete full project scope within 5 years. Partnerships are really crucial for the success of this program, and there are several award set-asides for transit-oriented development projects, integrated connectivity, rural and tribal affiliated projects, and projects from each region of the state. This slide shows you a menu of what AHSC funds, including affordable housing projects, both rental and home ownership, housing-related infrastructure, sustainable transportation infrastructure, transportation-related amenities, and programming for a 3-year term, including things like active transportation programs, workforce development programs, and more. This image just kind of summarizes the menu from the previous slide. Here you'll see the partners that administer the program, including at the state level, there's SGC, and then we also work with the Department of Housing and Community Development, the California Air Resources Board, and we also have external partners as well, technical assistance providers, 6 in total, all under one contract. So what do these TEA providers offer? They offer capacity building, direct application support. They help communities understand the program and how to create winning projects. As I mentioned, partnerships are really key. The TA providers help on that front. And this program, the TA and the capacity building are designed for all communities, including low-income, tribal, and rural communities. Last slide on this opportunity is our draft 2025 timeline. And I'll also note here that AHSC is funded through continuous appropriation from California's Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. It's the most significant source of stable, ongoing funding for affordable housing in the state. And the program also enables developers to leverage federal resources such as low-income housing tax credits. For this second opportunity, I'll not go into as much detail, even though it's a little more dense, maybe a little more niche. So bear with me. Through the Inflation Reduction Act, the Department of Energy Loan Program Office was given authority for loans and loan guarantees in excess of $400 billion. Most of this is realized through what's called the Title 17 Clean Energy Financing Program, which provides federal financing for projects for clean energy deployment and energy infrastructure. So through that program, Title 17 and SGC's status as a Department of Energy designated state energy financing institution, we saw an opportunity to expand and build new energy efficient factory-built housing manufacturing facilities in California. And we developed this fund with dollars from AHSC, the previous program I mentioned. The fund has $12 million to support applicants applying for Part 2 of Title 17. Quickly, here's a timeline. Applying for Title 17 can take 6 months to a year. The application has 2 parts. The first part is for project eligibility and readiness. The second is for programmatic, technical, and financial evaluation. Our fund will support applicants who've already passed Part 1 and they're starting to apply for Part 2. You'll see here October as a milestone, it's already passed. Although our first round recently closed, we do anticipate additional opportunities to apply, and that's why we're sharing this program with you here today. Last two slides, I'll just say the main takeaway about eligibility for now is that the most basic requirement is that the fund is for projects that have already passed Title 17 Part 1 and they're preparing for Part 2. And here we have threshold requirements, which we're happy to put back up during the breakouts and review with you, as well as scoring criteria that relate to those requirements. Very detailed here, but happy to go into more detail with y'all in the breakouts. So since I'm at time, I'll stop there. Hopefully I piqued your interest, and Adrian and I will be in the breakouts to answer any questions or direct you to others who can answer your questions at SGC. Thank you.
Thank you for presenting. I hope everyone heeds that encouragement and visits all our agencies in the breakout rooms, because this is where you'll get your questions answered and any other information you're looking for. As you see, our next speaker is with RCAC.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Rosner. I'm a loan officer with RCAC and will provide information on our technical assistance and infrastructure loan programs today. Rural Community Assistance Corp. Is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that operates in 13 Western states and Pacific Islands. We serve Indigenous and rural communities through training, technical and financial assistance, and advocacy. RCAC has helped rural communities access millions of dollars in grants and loans and train thousands of individuals through customized on-site technical assistance and workshops. Our technical assistance can help you maneuver around many of the programs you will be hearing about today. I'll highlight a few of the areas where TA are available in your community. We have consultants that can help you apply for the FAST site or USDA RD Apply. RCAC provides rate studies to water and wastewater utilities to promote utility sustainability, rate sustainability, and fairness to ratepayers. We help develop financial, managerial, or operational processes, emergency response plans, vulnerability assessments, O&M manuals, and operation plans. Regional collaboration among rural communities is an innovative way to help small water and/or wastewater systems maintain compliance and improve aging infrastructure. Our local presence allows us to develop partnerships with communities to identify needs, set goals, and help communities select the best options to meet those goals. We also provide on-site training where we work with operators and administrators to ensure delivery of safe drinking water. Lastly, we conduct median household income surveys, which determine eligibility for state and federal DACA status. So in addition to our technical assistance, RCAC provides loans for environmental projects. The next part of the presentation will address financing your project. Water, wastewater, and solid wastewater projects are eligible projects. They need to be located in a rural community with a population under 50,000. And the system must primarily serve low-income community. Nonprofit organizations, government entities, federal or state recognized tribe entities are eligible borrowers. If you have any questions about eligibility, contact your loan officer listed at the end of the presentation or ask me any questions in the breakout room. Now I'll present just two common loan types. This public utility district operates an older wastewater treatment plant that is nearing its design capacity. The California State Water Resource Control Board committed a total of $10,660,000 in grant funding for improvements. In these large construction projects, the general contractor typically has 30-day payment terms, but it could take the funder 60 to 90 days to, process the claim. So in these cases, RCAC can provide a bridge loan, otherwise known as a revolving line of credit, to pay the general contractor within the 30 days while the utility district waits for the grant reimbursement. There are other common grantors, the Department of Water Resources, California Energy Commission, American Rescue Plan Act, to name a few. And we have utilized this loan structure to bridge other projects, such as solar installation and park and community facility construction. The second example, this is a municipal water district needed to expand their existing storage capacity. The cost of a tank installation and connection was $4,200. RCAC provided a 6-month interest-only period for the district to complete the construction or connection, and it was followed by a 9.5-year term loan. Just as another example, I recently funded a loan to a district for the purchase of a parcel of land. So this district anticipated an increase in their community's population. They were transitioning from a seasonal to year-round residences, and they needed to add a well to their system. We funded the purchase of the parcel and provided a 12-month drawdown period to drill and connect the well. This loan that I am using as an example is being amortized over 20 years and is secured by real estate. So I would like to refer you, as many other presenters are, to the CFCC handbook that will have detailed information about our loan terms. You can access our application on our website. And you can also reach me in the breakout room if you have any questions. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for your presentation. We appreciate it every time, all the available funding out there for all the participants to go and check out. So our next presenter is from iBank, and they're going to be sharing the screen right now.
Thank you, Sarissa. And give me just a moment to pull this up. Okay. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Stephen Wright, and I am the Staff Loan Officer Specialist at iBank, and I just want to share with you how iBank may be a good fit for your next infrastructure project. So let's get started. So we are a state agency, and we operate under the Governor's Office of Economic and Business Development, or GoBiz for short. iBank has been around for 3 decades. We just recently celebrated our 30th anniversary at the Academy Awards Museum. And if you did not get an invite, I highly suggest that you get on our listserv. Therefore, you'll get all information when we have new programs available and parties at our office or at certain museums. And you really would enjoy it. It was a very good atmosphere down there at the Academy Awards, so we really encourage you to get on our listserv. Having a little technical difficulties here. It does not want to advance anymore. Hold on just one second. right, let's try this again. I guess I have to do it the old-fashioned way. So here are our core programs. Today, due to time constraint, we're only going to focus on the Infrastructure State Revolving Fund program, but we can talk more about the other ones in the breakout room, the Climate Financing, Bond Financing, and the Small Business Finance Center. Eligible projects. iBank projects means any cost associated with the project, whether it's designing, acquiring, planning or construction, improving or restoring a project within the state of California. iBank cannot be used for soft cost only. So for example, if you have a design cost that you want iBank to pay for, we cannot do that, but we can pay for the design cost if iBank money finances the construction of the project. So if we do the complete project, soft costs are no issue, but if you just want us to do the soft cost by itself, we are not allowed to do that. We can pretty much do any kind of project except for housing. And even with the housing infrastructure, we can do things like the sewer, water line, street lights. We just can't use any of our money towards the physical construction of the house. Determining if your project is viable, things that iBank like to look at is cash flow, and this is based on your annual comprehensive financial report. We look at the previous 3 to 5 years, and then we also look at your projections for the upcoming years as well. We also take a look at the project use. Most of our loans are supposed to be used for tax-exempt purposes, so we want to make sure that there's no private activity involved, and even if there is, we might have to do it as a taxable loan instead of a tax-exempt. We typically look at lease agreements. We just want to make sure that there's no clauses in the project that might jeopardize it, and we want to make sure that if this project is on land that you do not own, we want to make sure that the lease agreement is through the term of the loan. We also typically look at the repayment source. This is usually either general fund or enterprise fund in our cases. Even if you have some type of measure that supports a project, we typically will underwrite it as a general fund project. Applicants, as far as iBank's concerned, it could be any subdivision of the state or local government, including departments, agencies, commissions, cities, counties, and or special districts. We can also do nonprofits and JPAs, but it has to be under the right conditions. And here are just a few sample projects that iBank have financed over the years, starting with Watsonville, which was an SB 1383 project, and it consisted of a new landfill that included green and wood waste processing plant. The project also included a landfill compactor, which is the picture you see up on the screen to your far left. The next project was Encinitas. This project enhanced crosswalks, raised medians, and installed roundabouts, bike lanes, and increased parking options on this project. That's the picture in the center. And then to the far right, we have the Tiburon Fire District. This project was a construction of a new 5,455 square foot 2-story building, which replaced their existing fire station number 10 building. And on the next slide, we just got a few more examples, starting with the city of 29 Palms. This project included the purchase and installation of solar panels on various city-owned buildings. And to the right of it, we have the city of Santa Cruz, and this project included rehabilitation of the sewer and wastewater treatment facilities. So why choose iBank? We try to save you time by discussing the project first. So what we like to do is have an inquiry call. We talk about the project. We let you know if it's an eligible project up first, and then we do what we call the preliminary review process, where we pretty much underwrite most of the loan there. So you'll know within a month or so that, you know, you're going to be qualified and move on to our board agenda. We'll get you on our board agenda if this project is deemed eligible. We have a board meeting every month, or typically every month. We are a small unit, so if you get one loan with us and come back for another, you'll probably end up working with one or two similar people that you worked with in the past. We can do 100% financing, or we can do a portion of the financing. We have pretty flexible terms. We can do anywhere from 10 years up to 30 years, as long as the useful life of the project goes that long. And right now we are in the process of working on short-term loan criteria, which we hope to get out in the first quarter of 2025. So be sure that you get on that listserv. And with that, I will turn it back over to the hands of Sarissa.
Thank you. Thank you. I always enjoy iBank because you guys always have money to give out to people.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is from the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, Kyle Tyson.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Let's pull up my presentation here from the beginning. Everyone can see this just fine?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, so my name is Kyle Tyson. I'm with the technical assistance team here at Cal OES. We just recently launched last year in December, so we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary, and just wanted everyone to get to know us as the technical assistance team and what we have to offer for you. So our mission statement, as the resilience branch as a whole, we are dedicated to fostering resilient California by aligning mitigation planning with grant selection and implementation. And our mission is to empower communities, particularly those that have been historically underserved, to compete in these national and state level funding opportunities with the ultimate goal of enhancing their resilience against natural hazards. So what is hazard mitigation? Hazard mitigation being any sustained action that's taken to reduce or eliminate long-term risks to people and property from natural hazard events and their effects. We'll dive into how that relates to the various funding programs requirements shortly here. So the programs that we mainly deal with are HMA, Hazard Mitigation Assistance Programs, that are being administered by FEMA. So Cal OES is being the intermediary as the state agency, helping you develop your sub-application for these various programs, of which there are 4 we primarily deal with, and I'll give you a brief overview here. So HMGP, or Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, is a post-disaster funding stream. Say when Hurricane Hillary hit last year, the impacts from that natural disaster exceeded a threshold. It was presidentially declared, and then funding became available to implement various projects to mitigate against natural hazards. In a similar stream, HMGP post-fire is very similar to HMGP, but again, it being post-fire, so declared counties in the state of California that have been impacted by wildfires for the year are being prioritized to mitigate against the wildfire natural hazard. In addition to HMGP, there's also FMA and BRIC. Both of these programs are federally competitive programs that happen on an annual basis, and their intent is to be, generally speaking, larger funding opportunities for larger projects that help in community-wide or region-wide type manners. And the difference here being that HMGP is competitive within the state of California, and then FMA and BRIC are competitive on the national level. But Cal OES, at the technical assistance team, we're helping you build out your your application, your sub-application to these programs as best we can and navigating FEMA's complex requirements for these programs. Some of the kind of activities that are eligible under these programs, well, first is planning grants. So the idea here being there's a state hazard mitigation plan which identifies hazards across the entire state, and we're using this document as a jumping off point for local communities, so be that at the county level or even at the for a local special district such as a water control district, having a hazard mitigation plan, understanding the risk that that specific jurisdiction faces on a day-to-day basis, and identifying the need for hazard mitigation projects. Related to this is planning related activity grants. That would be implementing this local hazard mitigation plan I was discussing earlier into other planning documents, or conducting outreach and education to your constituents about the planning document itself. There's also project scoping. So say you have a hazard, but you don't necessarily know what the solution to that hazard is. Project scoping offers you funding to do any kind of surveys or analysis that would be required to generate a preferred alternative, and then ultimately leading you to a construction project. Then obviously there's construction projects themselves. This could be the acquisition and demolition of homes, the elevation of structures, drainage improvements, flood control measures, and depending on the program, nature-based solutions, even if it's just a component of your project, can make your application more competitive, especially in the federally competitive funding streams. And then examples of nature-based solutions, we're looking at restoration of grasslands, restoration of floodplains, wetlands, dunes, replanting of native vegetation is a common one that we see. So again, this tailoring of your project's scope to the requirements and the competitiveness factors of these FEMA grants is something that's often very nuanced, and we at the technical assistance team are here to help. Who is eligible? Well, state agencies are eligible. Local governments at the county, city, town level, special districts, like I had mentioned, the water control districts or fire departments would count. Federally recognized tribes, and also private nonprofit organizations, although only for the state competitive funding streams, so not BRIC or FMA. Now you may see that you must have a federally approved and locally adopted local hazard mitigation plan. If you're applying for the plan itself, obviously you don't need to have this requirement. And then if you're a private nonprofit, you do not need to have a locally adopted and FEMA approved hazard mitigation plan. But for any of the actual construction-based projects, this is a requirement. So keep that in mind. With the technical assistance team, we generally start helping sub-applicants by starting with a project scoping call and just getting a ballpark estimate of cost, understanding the scope of your project. Are you an eligible entity? Is this an eligible activity? What is your time frame for wanting this grant to be awarded? Do you have any requirements there? And then if we determine that we're on the right track, then we would ask you to submit a notice of interest. And this is accepted at any time with priority given to sub-applicants who submit by the specific deadlines as these various funding opportunities open. Your NOI, which is essentially a surface level, who are you? What is the project that you have in mind? What is the estimated total project cost? That sort of cursory information. We will review that NOI, and then sub-applicants will be invited to open a full sub-application and then begin developing this with assistance from us at the TA team for webinars and workshops. So we get through this whole sub-application process. This is ultimately submitted to Cal OES. Cal OES does an internal review. If there's any discrepancies, we will send a request for information, or RFI, to amend the sub-application. And then these sub-applications are submitted to FEMA. I mentioned earlier that we have a priority to communities that are disadvantaged, and we use a variety of mapping softwares and indices depending on the funding opportunity to determine competitiveness factors for our sub-applicants and determine if your community is being identified via these markers if you are a disadvantaged community. So again, the TA team helping you be as competitive and as in line with FEMA's requirements for these funding opportunities as possible. And then this is just a quick overview of how the technical assistance process would work. So you, as a jurisdiction, are identifying your problem, having a documentation of the hazard. Perhaps you have historic damages that you can turn to when you're explaining your project to us. In the project scoping calls, we are then talking about, do you need a plan before you can actually implement the project? Then we'll start there. If you're good to go with the plan, then we can move on to project scoping of the actual capital project. And then ultimately the development of the sub-application to be submitted for FEMA. Within the technical assistance division, we have 3 teams: climate and flood, wildfire, and then our infrastructure team. There are so many different kinds of projects that we get in that dividing this amongst teams provides you with some level of expertise, be it if you're doing seismic retrofits of a building, or if you're doing localized flooding improvements, or recovery after a wildfire incident. We just want to pair you up with subject matter experts for that. And in the sub-application development process, we're talking again about the eligibility of the project, the feasibility of the project, and then ultimately it must be cost effective. We have 2 funding opportunities open now. Well, sorry, one, and then one's coming. HMGP post-fire for 2024 has been opened. If you want to get your project scoping call in, submit the NOI, and then ultimately get your sub-application going. Sub-applications would be due January 8th of next year, so coming up. And then BRIC and FMA, the nationally competitive funding opportunities. We're still waiting on to hear back from the federal government on when they will be launched, but it is coming soon. So if you want to submit your NOI for that and get the process going, you can do so. Some contact information for you here. For any general inquiries, we have the HMA inbox. For grant information and timelines, you can visit our website and learn more. And then this QR code is for our listserv, which is a mass email alerting you to any new funding opportunities that immediately become open, any webinars that might help you develop your sub-application, etc. I highly encourage you to link up with me in the breakout sessions, and I hope to talk with you there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's great information. And I know there's a question there for you in the chat. So I hope that person will come to your booth and ask you questions about their upcoming project. Our next speaker is from the Department of Water Resources.
Hi all, good morning. My name is Gabriel Edwards. As Sarah just mentioned, I'm from the Department of Water Resources. I'm a senior environmental scientist. And yeah, today I'm going to give you a brief overview of our active funding programs. So just a quick note before I jump into the funding programs and those specifics. I just want to quickly touch on our general DWR funding eligibility. So the main point of emphasis is usually our grant applicants must be tribal governments, nonprofits, or public or local agencies. This is just a list that expands on the public and local agencies. So, state agencies, cities, counties, mutual water companies, et cetera. The main thing is that we usually don't have funding for private landowners or individuals, especially for infrastructure stuff like new wells, water tanks, that kind of thing. Sometimes we do. If you're interested in a funding program, I always recommend checking the program guidelines to see if you're eligible, or you can always contact the funding program directly to confirm. But generally, private entities aren't in our funding program guidelines. So best resource for information about DWR funding programs is our Grants and Loans website. It looks like this over on the right. This lists our active funding programs, and it has links to various funding resources, such as the DWR funding program website specifically. It also links to the California Grants portal, and then both the California Grants portal and the funding program websites have application submittal, eligibility, and contact information. And again, you can always contact the funding program directly to learn more information about the program or to learn how to apply. So this is a list of our current funding programs that I'm going to be covering today. We're a little limited right now, so it's just these three that are active, and we don't have anything forecasted at the moment. So the first up is the Riverine Stewardship Program. This program supports fish passage and ecological improvements for streams. There's around 6.48 million available. This number is maybe slightly outdated, but should be near this amount. And we're accepting applications until all the funds have been expended for this one. Eligible applicants include tribes, local public agencies, and certified nonprofits. And then this program has a limited geographic scope. So it's limited to counties within the Association of Bay Area Governments, which you can see on the map here. It's the cross-hatched area in black. It's a little bit limited in terms of where in the state this program will fund projects. Projects in this program must support habitat restoration and green infrastructure designs and solutions that improve water quality and supply. The projects must be consistent with Water Code Section 79205.6. And then I have a couple example projects. We've got things like habitat restoration and improvement efforts, things like gravel injection. We've got fish passage solutions that remove barriers to fish migration or otherwise improve fish passage, and then improvements to water conveyance within riverine habitats. The next program that we've got is the Urban Streams Restoration Program. This was temporarily closed, but we secured some more funding, so this is now reopened. It's active right now. This program provides funding for restoring streams impacted by urban development. There's a little under 10 million remaining, and also, just like the Riverine Stewardship Program, applications for this are accepted until all funds have been expended. This one is a little bit different in terms of the eligible applicants. So it's eligible to partnerships of 2 applicants. There must be a sponsor and a co-sponsor. So one local public agency or tribe or certified nonprofit, and then also one local community group. And here's a list of example projects: daylighting of streams, bank stabilization, native revegetation of banks. And there's also a planning only grant section for projects that are serving disadvantaged communities specifically. And then one other additional requirement for this one, each project must include either a public education or public outreach component. And then finally, we've got the Stream Gauge Improvement Program. So this program funds public entities to improve stream gauge infrastructure, and it's meant to bridge data gaps and support the reactivation and deployment of priority stream gauges. There's 7 million available for this program, and applications are being reviewed and evaluated on a monthly basis, basically by 5 p.m. on the last business day of each month until December 31st of this year. So in a little over a couple months, or yeah, a little over a month and a half, that's when the program's going to fully close. Eligible applicants include public agencies, special districts, and federally recognized tribes. And then they also make a special note: any of the above public entities that have adequate or they have consultant expertise and qualifications to install and operate a stream gauge that yields robust data. So our funding programs are always subject to change. I highly suggest either checking the DWR Grants and Loans page that I showed earlier or checking the California Grants portal regularly for up-to-date info. And you can always filter the California Grants portal for DWR funding opportunities. That just gives you a list of DWR grants, including the ones that I talked about today. And we have lots of additional resources and information on our website. There's links to those resources on the DWR slides that will be on the CFCC website soon. As Sarah mentioned, we're working on uploading those, so presentations from today should be uploaded soon. If you have any questions about DWR funding, please email funding@water.ca.gov, or you can feel free to reach out directly to me or to Leslie Pierce at DWR. We'd be happy to answer any questions or help put you in touch with the right funding programs within DWR. So that's the end of my presentation. I look forward to speaking with you all at our breakout room at the end of the funding fair. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for that. We really appreciate that. Right now, that was our last speaker for the state and local agencies, but we're going to have a small break right now for about 10 minutes. So my computer says 10:13. So if you come back at 10:23, we'll start with the federal agencies and the funding programs they have available. Yeah, we're going to take it to about 10:23. I have 10:21 by my clock, so you have about 2 more minutes, and then we're going to resume and we'll start again with the federal agencies. I have 10:23 right now. So if you all would like to return back to our event, I'd appreciate that. I give you a couple more seconds to 10:24 because, I give you the whole 10:23. Okay, everyone, our next speaker is going to give us a brief overview of the federal funding resources at www.grants.gov. And that will be our speaker, David White.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is David White. I'm with the United States Department of the Interior Bureau of Reclamation. Please let me know if you have trouble hearing me or seeing my screen. Today, I'm going to present two different presentations. First one is about using grants.gov, and the second one is specific to reclamation. Using grants.gov. Most federal agencies use grants.gov to let the world know about available funding opportunities. Not every agency uses grants.gov, and not every agency always uses grants.gov. But grants.gov is a great way to see what funding is available throughout the entire federal government. At the very end of my second presentation, I'll stop sharing this PowerPoint and we'll go right directly to the grants.gov website and we'll do a quick search so I can talk you through it. All right, so three things. Let's understand the federal funding agency. Let's search and apply, and let's talk about some tips for applicants. All right, each agency has its own mission, goals, and expectations on the use of federal funds. Sometimes you'll have a proposed project that will complement the work of multiple federal agencies. Now, you can't double dip. If you're lucky enough to get potential funding from multiple agencies, you'll have to decide which one works better for your particular situation. The NOFO, which is a Notice of Funding Opportunity, is going to give you detailed information about the particular funding agency, including contacts. The more you can understand the different federal agencies and their missions and expectations, the more you might be able to tailor a potential project to better fit their agenda, and that makes your project more competitive. Now, if as an executive agency, we usually do what the legislative branch tells us to do. In the absence of such direction, we can exercise our own agency discretion, and that's why NOFOs may change from year to year based upon each particular administration perspective or agenda. If you understand your agency's perspective, you might be able to design a project and an application that has more meaningful return of investment for that particular funding agency, therefore making it more competitive. Now, the funding is not necessarily for your project because we don't know all the projects out there. Most usually the federal government will put out a NOFO and see who applies and what kind of applications come in. Money is competitively awarded through these NOFOs. We want to be open and fair with everybody involved. We want folks to know what your tax dollars are being spent on and that we're trying to spend them wisely. NOFOs through grants.gov are forecasted, posted, closed, or archived. So this is a great database that allows you to see how funding may have changed over time. And also you can mine these previous applications to get an idea of what each agency is looking for. Now, navigating grants.gov, it's a huge database, lots of information. There are some guides embedded in, videos, as well as things you can download to help you better understand how to search it. You can have emails sent to you, notifications. You can sign up for particular keywords or things like that. You can also search directly, and we'll go through this later on. You can search by many different things. You can search by what's already happened or what's about to happen or what's going on right now. You can also search by keywords. You can search by, if you know the opportunity number, the federal domestic assistant number. You can search by all sorts of different things. Can you search by state? No. Sorry, you can't do that. If you wanted to know only what's available for California, that right now is not available. And if it does become available, I'll be happy to let y'all know about it because I know that would make a big difference for some of you. What's in a funding opportunity? Well, it's going to have an announcement, which is going to have as much information as possible without being overwhelming. And it will have a point of contact. Each NOFO has a point of contact. Now, usually this is not the funding program point of contact. It's the financial assistance team's point of contact. And so when you have questions, oftentimes if they can't answer it, they'll ask the funding program for a detailed answer, and then they will pass it along to you. NOFOs, they begin with a synopsis, which gives you a lot of important information, such as when is the application due, how much money is involved, how much non-federal funds are required, what's that non-federal match. And I'll tell you right now, the non-federal match can come from a variety of sources, including state loans and state grants. A NOFO will have criteria so that we can judge and rank your project and application against others. It's important for you to answer the questions. If it's a yes or no question, begin with yes or no. And if you want to expand, please expand, tell a little bit more. If there's a formula, please follow that formula. If you think that formula is not the best formula for your project, okay, we'll follow our formula, and then you can explain why maybe a better formula would work for your project, and then you can do that. The application package is extensive. You can work on it, download it, and work on it on your desktop, and then upload it, or you can do it in this workspace, this up in the cloud. There will be lots of forms. Some of them are standard forms, SFs, and some of those are required, and then some are optional. And then once you submit the application, you need to make sure that you can demonstrate that you actually did. And so there are different kinds of ways of getting confirmations. Keep up with this in case something happens and the electrons don't cooperate. You've got evidence that you did what you were supposed to do. All right, and then what happens after you submit it? Well, we evaluate your project, we rank it, and then we get back to you to let you know whether or not you received funds or you did not. Now, I want to say something right now. Just because we notify you that you will be getting funds doesn't mean you need to start working on your project. NEPA is required for almost everything. And the National Environmental Policy Act, that takes a while. And so sometimes your project may be delayed while we finish NEPA, even if it's a simple categorical exclusion. It sometimes takes a while for our NEPA team to process it all. So please keep in mind that before you do, especially any ground disturbing activities, you need to complete NEPA. Now, be sure to register and submit early. Please thoroughly read the application and the instructions. Fill out those standard forms. Include enough sufficient program and budget details. And if there are any optional forms, go ahead and take care of those. Now, your project will be evaluated based solely on what is in the application. We are not allowed to do any external investigation. So sometimes we'll get a great project that has a lackluster application. We can't Google it. We can't do anything else. If we have a technical question, we can ask the applicant to explain. But besides that, we're limited to the four corners of the document. That's it for grants.gov. Now I'm going to move into reclamation. And at the very end, if I have time, we'll quickly get on grants.gov and we'll do a little bit of searching. All right. Good morning. My name is David White. I'm with the Bureau of Reclamation, and I'm based here in Sacramento in what used to be the Mid-Pacific region. Now it's the California Great Basin region. I'm with our water conservation team, and I'll be talking to you about some of the funding opportunities available to you through reclamation. Now, before I begin, we anticipate there's going to be a change of administration in the next few months. The presentation that I give now may be very similar to the presentation that I will give in the spring of 2025 when we do our next CFCC round. It may be similar, it may be different. What's coming down the pike, I don't know. But let's talk about what we know right now, which is reclamation has 5 different regions, the 17 West-wide states. California, because of our 2 major river systems, is located in 2 different regions, the California Great Basin region and the Lower Colorado Basin. Water conservation team based in the CGB and the LCB. Here's some good points of contact. People do move on and retire, but right now, if you have a question, contact one of these folks. And if they can't answer your question, they'll find someone who can, and they'll make sure you have a good local point of contact. We have many different kinds of funding opportunities. Here in the CGB region, we use our own funds to put out a NOFO almost every single year for what we call the CalFed water use efficiency. And occasionally we also do one that's specific for agriculture, the agricultural water use efficiency, where we're looking for on-farm improvements. And we do this with the assistance of our good friends over at USDA. We also have a strong Native American Affairs Technical Assistant Program. Kevin Clancy's a great resource for information about that. Through basically our headquarters out of Denver, we have our Water Smart program. All right, and Water Smart is an umbrella program that has many, many, many different sub programs within it. We're not going to go through all of those. It's available on the website. And here in the PowerPoint presentation, and I can put this into the chat, is a brief guide to help you understand each of these different small programs, be it Water and Energy Efficiency Grant, the WEEG, or the SWEP, good point of contact, some information about the cost share, and eligible applicants. Earlier, I said reclamation operates in 17 West-wide states. Yes, we do. Amazingly enough, some of our NOFOs are also applicable to some of our U.S. territories, islands, and parts of the Caribbean. So sometimes we'll get an application from the U.S. Virgin Islands. So anyway, we have lots of different programs. Some are specific for, such as the Title 16 for water recycling and desalination. Some general information, usually for reclamation, up to 50% of the project's cost is paid for by us, which means you need to have at least a 50% non-federal match. In general, states, tribes, irrigation districts, water districts, and others with water or power delivery authority are eligible to apply. Or they can also apply on your behalf if you don't have such authority. Awards are made through a competitive process through these NOFOs that we talked about. Here in the region, we do have our Bay Delta CalFed water use efficiency grants, eligible for both urban as well as agricultural upgrades. And we're looking for real water savings here. The agricultural water use efficiency grants, like I said before, are for those on-farm savings. Same advice, many of the tips are the same as we talked about earlier about reading the entire NOFO and answering questions. If you have any questions, please ask. We're here to help. And the application review committee does not know your project and is depending upon you to tell a pretty good story about your project through your application. The non-federal cost share can come from a variety of sources. One easy way of doing it, one recommendation is to copy the criteria and then answer it. That way we know you're answering those questions and it helps you not accidentally skip something. If you have a giant program, you can subdivide that into projects, and each project can be applied for separately. And if you're not successful getting funds, you can ask for a debrief and we'll talk about your application. So here's some resources and additional information. That's it. Now I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Now let me pull this back up and let me see if I can share. And we're going to get right back into quickly. Let's do this. Here we are, grants.gov. Now you can search for just about anything. I typed in earlier today, water smart, which is reclamation. Lots of stuff came up. I typed in archery, nothing came up. Typed in seawall, a few things came up. You can type in things such as SCADA, if you want a keyword, and then it'll pop up. And then here are all the different opportunities. These are the ones that are posted and forecasted. You can then click on closed and archived. More and more will appear. You can search by agencies. If we wanted to limit it to, let's get down here. You can search by agencies such as Interior keeps hiding, but you can search by all of the U.S. Department of the Interior agencies, and you can even do sub-agencies. You can sort it by date. And it's a really good way. And if we wanted to look at the most recent one that's closing next week, we can just click on it right there, and that should take us. There's the synopsis, the eligibility, additional information. We've got the package that we can download, and it should have all the information available in it. And if you have any questions, there's always a point of contact on here. I'm going to stop sharing for now. I'll be available in the breakout room. Thanks for listening, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you, David. Always appreciate your presentation. Our next two speakers are both from USDA. The first one will be talking about the Rural Housing Services Community, and the second person will be talking about the Rural Development Water and Environment Program. So our next speakers are from USDA.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, 1 second. Let me turn on. Okay, am I sharing my screen? I'm sorry.
Yes, you're sharing your screen.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alba Lázaro. I am the Community Facilities Program Specialist for USDA Rural Development, and I'm in the Fresno office. And I'll be giving you an overview about our community facilities programs. Under our community facilities programs, we're able to assist with hospitals, health clinics, schools, daycares, fire station departments, first responder vehicles, equipment, community centers, and much more. Under the community facilities programs, we have direct loans, direct grants, loan guarantees to develop or improve essential public services and facilities in our communities. To be eligible for a direct community facilities loan and grant, the communities must be, the population for those communities need to be 20,000 or less. For the guaranteed loan program, under community facilities, the communities must be 50,000 or less. Eligible applicants can be public bodies, nonprofits, Native American tribes, federally recognized Native American tribes. For fiscal year 2023, a total of 109 million was awarded throughout rural California, and that was a total of 38 projects. On the community facilities loan program, the rates change quarterly. Currently, the interest rate is 3.875, and this is fixed at the time of loan approval for the project. The term is 30 years or useful life of project. The applicants have to have adequate security and collateral, repayment ability and feasibility, and unable to obtain other commercial credit. We're not able to compete with commercial banks. This is an example of a community facility loan, and this was a fire station in Newcastle and in Placer County. The total project cost was 4.75 million, and USDA finances a total for the community facilities loan 3.78 million. The applicant did have to come in with a contribution of 978,000. This was funded back in 2021 and completed in 2022. For the Community Facilities Direct Grant Program, eligible applicants must be also public bodies, special districts, federally recognized tribes, and nonprofits. Communities must be considered rural and population must be 20,000 or less. Applications under the grant program, they're accepted all year round. And the maximum award for this is 50,000. Some examples of grants of what applicants use for this type of program, for the grant program, is equipment for healthcare, equipment for police and fire departments, public buildings, transportation infrastructure. And this photo here is a bookmobile, and the award, there was a grant awarded to Butte County Public Libraries. So it's pretty neat. This bookmobile went into real communities. Also, the entity must have a contribution depending on their median household income. Some other examples that were funded with community facilities, both on the loan and direct grant program, are here in Kings County. We have the fire department, the applicant's Jaws of Life. In Fresno County, Golden Plains Unified School District, distance learning equipment. In Fresno County, in Mendota, 2 police vehicles were funded. Herbert Elementary Unified School District, the applicant used that assistance for school, cafeteria, and freezer. Coahuila Indian Reservation Fire Department used the assistance for equipment for utility truck and tanks. Long Valley Charter School used their assistance to construct a new school. The City of Clear Lake used their assistance for animal control facility. The Auburn Interfaith Food Cloth City, they used that assistance for a new food bank. And lastly, City of Huron, and these are just some examples of grants and loans. And the last one, I'm sorry, City of Huron, domestic violence and homeless housing. So we have about 17 offices throughout the state, and I will be dropping the link on the in the chat. And you could find us, or you could find a specialist near you, or you could contact me and I'll link you to the correct specialist in that area. So USDA Rural Development has about 74 programs. Each program has its own rural definition, and population and median household income might vary depending on the program. If you have more information about California's USDA Rural Development, you could visit this link and I'll drop it in the chat. And if you also want to receive email notifications about just any federal assistance opportunities, you could go into the, you could sign up for emails through the Gov delivery. And that's all. Thank you so much. Please, if you have questions in regards to your project, join us in the breakout room. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Our next speaker is getting the building. USDA, as I mentioned, and they'll be presenting shortly.
Hello, everybody. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. All right. Hello, I'm Marcos Ramos from the USDA Rural Development, Water and Environmental Programs. I'm going to share some of our eligibility for what we offer, as well as go over some projects we've done. And just ahead of time, once you guys have any ideas for projects or anything, just meet us in the breakout rooms after the event. So here's what I'll be covering, water and environmental programs and example projects. So water and environmental programs, we also just call it WEP for short. It's much easier to say. And so our WEP funding opportunities, we have water and waste disposal, loan and grant, our emergency community water assistance grants, also called ECWAG. We have Colonia grants, Native American grants, search grants, and pre-development grants. So to highlight the first one, water and waste disposal loan and grant program, eligible applicants include public bodies, including special districts, nonprofit corporations, and federally recognized tribes. Population must be 10,000 or less. We have comprehensive funding, construction, engineering fees, land, legal fees, and environmental costs. Loans can be combined with grants to keep user costs reasonable. Rates and terms. Currently, our interest rates are established every quarter. Currently, they're 2.375 to 3.875%. Interest rates are based on your state non-metropolitan median household income, and our terms are 40 years. So just continue this. Our 100% of California non-metropolitan median household income is currently, as of the 2021 ACS data, is 80,546. So this is how you would determine your current interest rate on your community. And so we would use your community if it's not in a city or public body where the census data is provided for that. We also can break it down into census tracts. And if it's over multiple census tracts, we'll average it out to get your MHI for your service area. And once we determine that, that's where your interest rate will be determined from. And just in a asterisk here, it must also correct a health or sanitary and safety violation. So grant eligibility, so up to 45% grant service area has a MHI between 64 and 80 1,546, up to 75% grant, which would mean there would be a 25% match. The service area must be below $64,436, and the project is needed must alleviate a health or sanitary problem. So our ECWAG program assists rural communities that have experienced a significant decline in the quality or quantity of water directly caused by an emergency incident. Emergency incidents can include drought, earthquake, flood, landslides, and grants can cover up to 100% of the project costs, up to $1 million. Funds can be used to develop new water sources for water and for water treatment. Our Colonia grants 306C must be located within 150 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. All colonias in California are located in Imperial, San Diego, or Southern Riverside counties. $3 million is available for the whole state of California, which, as we just stated, would be in those three potential counties. And projects that corrects serious health or sanitary problems associated with drinking water and waste disposal systems. Our Native American 306C grant, projects that correct serious health or sanitary problems associated with drinking water and waste disposal systems. Per capita income must be less than or equal to $26,347. Unemployment rates must be no less than 4.75%. 4 million maximum $4 million is the maximum per project in fiscal year 24. And approximately 22 million dollars nationally available. Search grants. Eligible areas are rural communities with a population of 2,500 or less, have a median household income below $64,436, which is 80% of the state non-metro MHI. $30,000 max grant to pay for pre-development planning costs to support applications for WEP funding. So typically, if you apply for this, you're going to also apply for our funding for the rest of the project, for the construction and other phases. Pre-development planning grants, or PPG for short. Eligible areas are can have a population up to 10,000 or less. We must have a medium household income of 80%, which is pretty consistent. And then 60,000 max grant to pay for pre-development planning costs to support the applications for WEP funding. So it requires that at least 25% of the project cost comes from the applicant or third-party sources. In-kind contributions are not allowed. So here's kind of our application process. It's pretty comprehensive. We're involved as field specialists pretty early in the process. So as you can see here, you want to build community support for your project. That's going to be important and a requirement of the project. You're going to have an initial meeting with the USDA. We're going to consult with you and your engineer and your environmental consultant, depending on the project. And we're going to determine what the project scope is and determine that at an early stage. Once we get everything we need in our application requirements, we will review it. If it is approved and obligated, we will then if it is approved after the reviewer, you'll get a letter of conditions and we'll obligate funding. Disbursement after loan/grant closing or start of construction. It just depends on the project on the end there. Oh, there. Sorry, there we go. So we have a online application intake system for WEP. It's called Already Apply. It's linked here, but if you need it or you can't get to it, just let us know and we'll make sure we get you where you need to be. It's convenient. There's a lot of identity security. All users must obtain e-authentication. So it's a very secure website. Faster application process. You can also authorize, yourself and your engineer and your, depending on the project, to help you through the process as well, or even a, technical assistance provider can obtain access and help you through the process. Obviously, it reduces paper consumption because it's fully virtual, and applicants officially with basically there'd be someone who's determined by the community or public body or whoever the applicant is, will have the authority to sign and certify the application. So here's an example of a project we did in Ocotillo for Ocotillo Mutual Water Company. They did a new water well and a rehabilitation of their storage facility. So as you can see here, the total project cost is around 837,000. The Colonia grant covered our USDA Colonia grant covered 558,000, and then our normal grant program covered the rest of the project, the $278,000. So we can get pretty creative with our funding opportunities and make sure that it benefits the community to the utmost. Here's another example. We have Rio Alto wastewater treatment plant and their constructed wetlands. So total project cost was 7.3 million. USDA WEP loan / grant combination was 5.4 million. And we also partnered with these other agencies to get that one fully funded. CF and WEP example. So we have City of Woodlake. So this combined investments of nearly $30 million for their entire city. So not only did they, get a healthcare facility and other loans for community centers, et cetera, in the total of $6 million and grants up to 154, but they also applied for our WEP programs and received over $24 million of comprehensive funding in that aspect as well. So just because you apply for one, it doesn't mean you can't apply for the other. So just keep that in mind. You can find us online at www.rd.usda.gov /California. You'll see a lot of our programs and services there. And sometimes there's different pots of money that will be displayed there as well when we get new programs outside of our usual thing. But the best resource is that. And thank you. You can, like I said, reach us at our website or on Twitter. We have an account there as well. And if you have any questions or you want to just get some contact information at the end of this event, please join the breakout room.
Thank you. We appreciate your information. We have one more speaker. They're from the US EPA, Brooklyn James.
Hello. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sweet. Let me put this in full screen. Here we go. Okay, hi everybody. My name's Brooklyn James. I'm from US EPA Region 9 Brownfields program. So we're going to switch it up and talk about brownfields for a little bit. Thanks for sticking it out to the last presentation. Just super quick, I want to talk about what a brownfield is. A brownfield is a piece of property that is affected by the presence or potential presence of a hazardous substance, pollutant, or contaminant. So this can be examples like abandoned gas stations, vacant lots, illegal dump sites, old mines, industrial facilities, railroads, things like that. And on the slide here, I have a couple examples of some brownfields on the left and what they can look like after they're cleaned up, which is what the mission of the Brownfields program aims to help with. And there really are countless reuse options that you can do with brownfields. For example, affordable housing, environmentally friendly transportation, like EV charging stations or rapid transit. You can do rural and tribal things like creating hospitals, health clinics, and then also community parks and open space, and other renewable energy projects like solar farms. There really are a lot of reuses that you can do with brownfields, and our program has a couple of different funding opportunities that can assist communities with getting those brownfields to be revitalized. Overall, we have assessment, cleanup, and revolving loan funds offered this year. Applications are due next week. So it's a really short timeline. So if you're thinking about applying, we offer these annually, except for this year and next year is going to be the last grant cycles that will have the bipartisan infrastructure law funding available, meaning the grant amounts might decrease after next year. In general, our entities that are eligible to apply are states, federally recognized tribes, nonprofits, general purpose units of local governments like cities, counties, and qualified community development entities. So we can get to the breakout rooms. I'm just going to super briefly touch on each of these that we're offering this year, starting off with our community-wide assessment grant, where you can fund doing a brownfields inventory, phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessments, community outreach, and cleanup and redevelopment planning, up to $500,000 available. Same type of activities, but for states and tribes, which is up to $2 million. Our assessment coalition grant aims to help those entities that want to apply but might not have the capacity to manage a federal grant on their own. So the idea here is there's one lead member and 2 to 4 non-lead partners that would combine together to accomplish doing assessments in a general area, up to $1.2 million available under this grant type. And I just wanted to add a couple different redevelopment planning activities that you can do under our assessment grants. So this can do site reuse visioning, market evaluations. You could do infrastructure assessments, land use assessments, site designs, a lot more than just this. And then after you've got your site fully characterized, we have our cleanup grant, 3 pools of funding, 500,000, 2 million, and 4 million. And again, these numbers might go down after FY26. But under the cleanup grants, you can do the actual remediation of whatever contamination is identified, as well as more reuse planning, community involvement, and you can cover regulatory oversight fees, like DTSC oversight fees. Our revolving loan fund grant, this one is for an entity to provide subgrants and loans to other entities to do brownfields cleanup. So you have to be able to administer subgrants and loans if you want to apply for this one. You can start off with $1 million, but you can get supplemental funding over time. So this is actually one of our non-competitive opportunities to get free contractor assistance to do those phase 1 and phase 2 site assessments. The application is also a lot easier. It's open year round. It's just an online form. This is for one particular site, for example, that you would like to get the sampling done on and kind of envision the reuse for. And again, this reuse has to serve a public good, but this QR code would take you to the application if you wanted to see more about this free contractor assistance. Lastly, I just wanted to plug the Center for Creative Land Recycling. They are our partners, our technical assistants to brownfields providers that can provide proposal preparation as well as a whole lot of other things. So here's their information here. And that is it. I will be in the breakout rooms. I also have a QR code if you want to set up a one-on-one meeting to talk about specific projects. Thank you.
Thank you for that information. We really appreciate yours, even though it was the last one, it was still just as important. Right now, we're going to do our next thing is our evaluation. We like to get some feedback of what you thought about our funding fair today, our event. And so before we open up the breakout rooms, there's a link to the online evaluation. If you would just, and there's a QR code. We would appreciate you take about 3 or 4 minutes to do the survey that will help us to improve how we conduct the funding fairs and how we can make it a more durable experience for you. So right now, we just want you to go ahead and take that evaluation, and then we can go right into the breakout room. Again, it shouldn't take, I think there's a few questions on there. It shouldn't take long. And then you can return right back here to the funding fair and go into the virtual booth. Because I saw in the chat, there were many questions. And so there is where you can ask all the questions you want and get more information. Again, also, please visit www.cfcc.ga.gov for the handbook and any other for the thumbnails of the presentations will be available there also. Okay, the breakout rooms will be opening right now.